Hello Internet, my name is Kiri Callaghan and you're watching Kiriosity, the vlog where we get nerdy on geek culture. Today is an epic day in geek history, marking the birthday of the longest running American-made sci-fi television series. 21 years ago today, we were first introduced to the pilot of the X-Files. And it's about time too, because I really can't think of anyone who deserves a drink more than Mulder and Scully. A show that truly rocked the Monster of the Week episodic style, X-Files ran for a total of 202 episodes, 2 feature films, and a comic book series. And that's not counting the novelizations or any of the spin-offs. I remember loving X-Files especially because it never ceased to unnerve me with the whole concept of what if. I mean, I still hesitate to look under my bed because of the episode Home. But our favorite FBI agents aren't the only ones with confusing cases with a seemingly extraterrestrial nature. So I thought I'd take today to talk about 5 of my favorites. Now, admittedly, hoaxes have become more and more prevalent with the emergence of things such as Photoshop. I mean, with a decent amount of skills, you can convince people of some pretty crazy things, if only for about 5 minutes before they stumble upon Snopes. I should do an episode about Snopes, but the instances I want to talk about today actually happened before Photoshop was ever in the picture. No pun intended. Los Angeles, 1942. 3 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, between February 24th and 25th, an unidentified flying object was spotted over the city. Air raid wardens were ready to go at the first sign of invasion, but what they found was definitely not Japanese, unless it was like from an anime. The giant hovering object was soon lit up by the gigantic spotlights of the Army's 37th Coast Artillery Brigade. Military aircraft were sent to confront the object, and the beams of light were accompanied by tracer fire from anti-aircraft artillery, all of the rounds aiming at the invading craft. The giant UFO took direct hit after hit and never seemed to take damage. Despite the fact that the craft was taking multiple direct hits, it didn't seem to take damage. And unfortunately, that barrage of bullets kind of fell everywhere, causing injuries and even some deaths. The UFO moved into Culver City, even directly over MGM studios, and in the more lit areas, it was able to be photographed, until eventually it moved to Long Beach and then disappeared completely. Lubbock, Texas, 1951. It was dark and clear that night when 3 college professors from Texas Technical College spotted 20 to 30 lights moving in a V-shaped formation, kind of like ducks. The same formation was later photographed by a student of the college. Hundreds of non-scientific observers witnessed as many as 3 flights in that one night. There were no scheduled flights for that time or area, and when the Air Force examined the photos, they could neither prove nor disprove their authenticity. Washington, D.C., 1952. A few minutes before midnight, July 19th, an air traffic controller in D.C. noticed some odd blips on his radar screen. Knowing no aircraft were flying in that area, he rushed to inform his boss. The movements were completely radical from an ordinary aircraft, and they moved with such sudden bursts that the radar couldn't track them continuously. 10 miles east, Air Force personnel gaped as bright orange objects circled in the sky, stopped, and then shot off at blinding speeds. The next evening, the radar tracked the UFOs as they moved at over 900 miles per hour. Sightings and trackings were intermittent over the week and then erupted by the weekend. At one point, an F-94 piloted by Lieutenant William Patterson was about 10 miles off from the UFOs when they turned and went towards him en masse. Incredibly shaken, Patterson asked if he should open fire. He endured an extremely tense silence before the UFOs zoomed off. My personal favorite, Belgium, November 1989 to April 1990. The first night of sightings was only the beginning of one of the best witnessed and documented UFO waves ever. On more than one occasion, F-16 jets chased after the unknown craft with no results. One of the most notable sightings of the wave came on March 30th, 1990, from a Belgian national police captain who watched a giant triangle UFO pass overhead. 2 separate radar stations corroborated the sighting. With over 1,000 witnesses, confirmed radar sightings, plane radar lock-ins, and military confirmations over half a year's time, it's really hard to deny that at least something was obviously flying over Belgium. All right, who's pranking Belgium? Also, where'd you get the sweet rides? One of the things I really love about this case is the information sharing that went on. Civilian and military officials were very forthcoming with their reports. They set a great model for others to follow in the pursuit for uncovering the whole UFO mystery. And of course, this really wouldn't be a proper UFO video if I didn't mention Roswell, New Mexico. 1947. One of the most suspected government cover-ups, and also really convoluted. On the evening of either July 2nd or July 4th, they're not really sure, there was a thunderstorm with a lot of lightning. And given the date, probably some fireworks. A foreman of the Foster Ranch by the name of William W. Mac Brazel wondered why lightning struck the ground repeatedly in the same spots on the ranch. He wondered if that might mean that there were some metal deposits underground and was probably considering doing some prospecting. But this time there was a different sort of sound amid the thunderclaps. He described it as an explosion. The next morning he came upon an area about a quarter of a mile long and several hundred feet wide that was strewn with debris, shiny bits and pieces unlike anything Mac had ever seen. The sheep Mac tended refused to cross the debris and had to be herded around in a long way to get water. Mac gathered up some of the material and brought it back with him to the ranch. And because of a few reported sightings, he was instructed to tell the authorities. And that's where things get weird. From there it said that Mac was detained for about a week as a guest of the military, that they excavated the crap out of that spot, and a ton of stories started rolling in, including things about a second crash site, and bodies even. Honestly, I actually hesitated to talk about Roswell just because it gets pretty wibbly wobbly about that point. But regardless of what happened, the military is sticking to its high altitude balloon story. And if I were to be honest, a lot of the evidence suggests that that debris is very likely from Project Mogul. What was Project Mogul? It was an Air Force project which flew microphones in high altitude balloons for the primary purpose of detecting sound waves that were generated by Soviet atomic bomb tests. And when you think about how freaked out we were as a country about the Soviets, it's pretty possible that that freak out of detaining Mac and excavating the site was desperately trying to glean any information that balloon might have picked up without contaminating it any further than the nosy civilian already had. So is there alien life out there? Many scientists seem to think so. Technology such as the James Webb Space Telescope will be one of the primary instruments scientists use to continue the search for planets outside our solar system. I mean, if you think about it statistically, there are billions of stars out there, and that's just the ones we know about. And if they all have their own galaxies, it almost seems less likely that there isn't something out there similar to Earth. For more unexplainable tales, check out Dale Kingsmill's mythology blog. And if you want to talk more about space, I'm actually going to have the opportunity to trek down to the Kennedy Space Center down in Florida later this month. You can catch all of the action on my personal channel. And most importantly, remember, the truth is out there.